Hi everybody, I'm Tony Salimo and welcome to another edition of On Campus. As you know from watching the program through the summer, we have been visiting the farms across Sussex County that are participating in the farmers market over on Plains Road, the building right there in front of the fairgrounds. And today we're going to visit Farms, multiple pieces of produce that they produce. They have some livestock. We're going to talk to Ray and go through that farm. So let's take a walk through the farm and see what Ray has to offer.
We bought the farm actually 20 years ago this month. I was a mechanic for 20 years, and growing up as a kid, my father always wanted a farm. Our family business was car repair. And on weekends we would go up here actually looking for a farm. Well, my mother wouldn't have any part of it, so he never got his farm. And my dad passed away. But now he has a farm because I have a farm. Like I said, I bought this 20 years ago, and the first 10 years I worked as a mechanic and did this on weekends. My wife was here full-time. She had a terrible car accident. She went back to school. She's the MRI tech now, and she makes more money than I ever did, which allows me to spend my time here for the past 10 years. We have a 15-acre farm. We're biodynamic, which means we don't use herbicides or pesticides. We improve the soil by using animal compost, and we feed the soil. The soil feeds the plant. My wife Dana basically takes care of all the produce. She starts everything from seed. They go into transplants, and then they get potted out and transplanted into the ground. And I do the animal end of it. We raise chickens, we have donkeys, we have meat chickens, we have a dairy herd of goats, we have honeybees, numerous cats, one dog. My wife has a CSA. Dana Ray Farm has a CSA. If you don't know what that means, it's a share program. You join in February. And starting in March, you come to the farm and you get what was picked fresh that week, on a Friday, actually, in a bag. You pick it up on Saturday. It runs from March through December. And last year we actually started a winter CSA, which ran from January and February. If you have any questions, you can see me at the farmers markets. I do one on Saturday at the Sussex Fairgrounds. The other one is at Lafayette Village on Sunday. We're always there. I'm always there. Come and see me. Come here, come see the farm. I can tell you how we do things at the market, but it's better if you actually see the farm. Well, like I said, we go right through December, and January is, I guess, our slowest month. But it's not a time of inactivity because we're going through seed catalogs and preparing for the next year, and then we get into February where we have our seeds, and Dana's transplanting seeds into the pots downstairs in the basement under lights. Then in March we actually light our little greenhouse with a little heater, and they get moved out here, and then they go into the big greenhouse, which has no heat. It just relies on solar heat. March is the time of year when our baby goats are born. As soon as the baby goats are born, then I have to start milking twice a day. So I'm in the barn at least 6-7 hours a day from then till we dry them up, which is usually October. Early summer is a very, very busy time, planting and transplanting and weeding and rototilling and canning Friday nights at the kitchen that we rent. And then again, Saturday we're at the farmer's market, Sunday I'm at a farmer's market. And it basically starts to slow down, I guess you would say, around fair time. Goats aren't given as much milk. We can relax a little more. Every day is different. You can't go in the house at night and say, I'm going to do this tomorrow, because tomorrow usually something happens and you can't do what you intended to do. Behind me you'll see the The ridge, on top of that ridge is the Appalachian Trail. I don't know the height of the ridge right now, but at one time these mountains were as tall as the Himalayas. Quite something to think about. All the erosion over the thousands and thousands of years, and unfortunately a lot of those rocks ended up in my field, which we have to contend with when we plant. The ridge runs north to south, so weather-wise it aids us a good deal. Sometimes on a Sunday morning getting ready for market, we'll come out and there's no wind, and so you dress for no wind. You go to the market down in Lafayette and it's howling down there. It just shows you the immense effect that a mountain range has on you. This mountain range is also home to the timber rattlesnake, which is an endangered species in New Jersey. A few years ago they did a survey for the state, and on this ridge on my property was the only timber rattlesnake they found on that day. I'm sure there's more timber rattlesnakes other places, but that day it was here. We also have the Audubon Society coming here because of the ridge. It runs north to south, and the birds tend to follow it when they do their migrations. We just had the Audubon Society here about a month ago for the spring migration, and they'll be back in the fall for the fall migration. You're liable to see anything. We have a lot of various birds here that may not be common to this area. We have whippoorwills, we have ravens, we have a lot of egrets, and bitterns. It's just amazing what you'll see out here. It's also because of the way we farm. As you see, we didn't cut every tree down. We didn't plow every field. We leave weeds because the weeds are an important part of our survival. We left habitat for the wild animals. Again, this is biodynamic farming. It's the way farming was always done until lately. Unlike last winter, we usually have quite a bit of snow, and this mountain range actually acts as a sponge. And long after the snow is melted and long after the spring rains, we get a lot of runoff from this mountain, which is why this used to be one huge farm, which is why this farm is here, because it had good access to water for their stock. Okay, we have about 300 laying chickens. In other words, they give us an egg. All our animals are free range. They're not locked in a barn. It's very important that all animals are outside by choice. They, of course, have the option to go inside. The door is open, but on a day like today, everybody wants to and everybody needs to be outside. Animals' eyes act just like our eyes do. With the sunlight going through their eye, it does chemical changes in their body. When they're outside, they have their natural diet. They get supplemented with feed morning and night, but it's not commercial feed you could buy at Agway or whatever, Tractor Supply. It's feed that we have made, specialty shop down in Hackettstown that's delivered twice a week. You can actually see that it's feed. When you buy commercial feed, for instance, chicken feed, if there's a wind, it'll blow away in the dust. What you're buying is the very, very last amount of nutrition that they could possibly sell, and they're making a buck on it. It's not good for the animals. If it's not good for the animals, it's not good for you when you eat that animal or a product from that animal. You are what you eat. You are what you eat eats. I met my wife was through a dairy goat. For some reason, my whole life, I was attracted to goats. When I had my first house in West Milford, I had some property. I put up a barn, and then I went on a search for goats. I went to the fairgrounds during the fair, and I met Dana, my wife. Turned out to be my wife. She sold me a couple baby goats. She lived in Hamburg at the time with her parents, and over the course of learning about the goats and picking up milk every week to give my goats in West Milford. We developed a relationship. I went on a quest to buy a farm. Her mother was a real estate agent, and things just fell into line, and she's been with me over 20 years, and I couldn't do it without her. She's a tremendous worker, working 4 days a week off the farm, and then the other 3 days she works almost full-time, or more than full-time on the farm. So those dairy goats, we milk twice a day. With that milk, I make soap because I can't sell it, it's raw milk. I drink it, Dana drinks it, I can't sell it. We feed pigs with it, we buy baby pigs in the spring, and they get a good supply of milk every day. We give it to our chickens, our dog gets it, everybody gets the raw milk. The only ones that don't get raw milk are you, because I can't sell it to you. It's a shame. We have donkeys. Years ago, Dana asked me what I want for Christmas, and I told her a mule. Well, I didn't get a mule, and next year she asked me again, what do you want for Christmas? And I said, a mule. And she said, do you really want a mule? I said, yeah. So we went looking for a mule. We couldn't find any local, but we did find donkeys. So we bought two donkeys, mother and daughter, and Mom was pregnant at the time. We didn't know, so now we have 3 donkeys. Dana doesn't see why they're here, but they're here because, first of all, I like them, and second of all, they're actually guard animals. That's not why I bought them, but they do. They chase other animals away. Because I'm located here, everything that's wild in New Jersey is in my backyard. I have Stokes Forest behind me. I don't lose any animals because of these donkeys. I do lose chickens once in a while to the raptors, which are always here, again, because of the mountain. But, you know, if I lose 1 or 2 chickens, that's fine. It's no reason to lock up all the other 298 chickens. We have honeybees. We have no problem with our bees. We kind of know that the problem other people were having with the bees worldwide was because of pesticides that a lot of farmers use. They spray to kill bugs and insects, and bees are insects. We don't use that. We don't use herbicides. Our bees are flourishing. We have 6 hives right now. Unfortunately, we're not going to get a good honey harvest this year because it started out great. We had an early spring, but then we had all this rain. And during the period of so much activity, we had 6 or 7 swarms. We were able to catch 4 or 5 of them, but we lost a lot of bees and not as many workers as they needed. So we will have a harvest next month, but it's not going to be what we thought it was going to be, which is typical of farming. Next year, they did an autopsy on an old farmer, and when they cut him open, he was full of next year's. So that's the way it is.
I found the college experience right here at Sussex County Community College for a fraction of the price.
Really helped me in terms of just becoming a new individual or learning more about myself.
I found that a lot of the staff here and the teachers were very caring and helpful.
This is a very special thing for us, and we try to go out of our way to help our students as much as possible.
Sussex County Community College. Start here, go anywhere.
Well, the first few years I had bees, I took care of them myself. I didn't try to harvest the honey because I wanted them here for the pollination. When we did decide we would harvest honey, we actually got a beekeeper. Because it's kind of a specialty, just like in the beginning I bought my own hay equipment and I would make my own hay. That's a specialty. It's hard for a farmer to do that too because you're so reliant on the equipment being ready when you need it. It typically breaks down when you need it, and you're dependent on the weather. So instead of doing our hay ourselves, we actually put the animals out on the fields, let them eat the grass, and then I buy my hay from a local farmer. Same guy I've been dealing with for 15 years, great guy, Harold Kosh. When I first got into farming, I thought every farmer, you know, you would see a roadside stand and whatever was on that stand came from that farm, but it's not that way. Lots of times farmers buy from other farmers, which I guess is okay. But let me tell you, if you buy anything from us, we grew it on this farm. It's the only way I can tell you that it's pesticide-free, it's herbicide-free. If you buy eggs from me, I can tell you that they're fresh this week because I sell out of my eggs. We're tied to this farm. We don't get to go away. Maybe every 3 or 4 years we'll go away for a couple days, but it's really a chore. But a lot of my customers travel the world as salesmen or whatever, and they tell me time and time again that my eggs are the best eggs they've ever tasted. And it's really simple. We do it the old-fashioned way. That's all it is. You take good care of your animals, you put them outside, you give them good feed, fresh water. That's all it takes. It's not a factory farm, never will be. Okay, as I told you before, in January, buying seeds, the seeds get put into trays, and we start them out in our basement under shop lights. If anybody wants to try it at home, you don't need to go out and buy these expensive lights to grow plants. 4-foot shop light at Home Depot or Lowe's, the cheapest you can buy, no special bulbs. Just keep it close to the soil. That's the trick. Most people elevate the light too high, and then what happens is the plant is stretching for the light. You get leggy plants. It's not the best, so just keep your shop lights low. You'll be fine. If you have any room to grow your own food, I heartily recommend it. Grow your own food. You know what you're feeding your family. This is our small greenhouse. They go from the basement into this greenhouse. 12 by 16. Has a little heater. Doesn't use much propane. This size greenhouse we can afford to heat. Also has a ventilation fan. Also has 2 layers of plastic. Air insulation is another factor to keep this greenhouse warm in winter.
Okay.
I'm the animal person, and Dana is the vegetable person. Truthfully, I'm not very fond of vegetables. I'm a meat guy, bacon and egg guy. So every year, Dana and I go through this dance. She needs more room to plant, and I need more room for my animals. So she's had me over the years, put gardens, large gardens, all over the place. This is one of them. See, we use plastic mulch to help control the weeds because we're not using any herbicides. Pole beans and celery and onions and beans. This is just one of our many gardens. Before we plant a garden, we use our aged compost. That's how we fertilize our soil, just like they always did. Farmers always did, people always did. Not too long ago, everybody was a farmer. This is our largest greenhouse. It's called a high tunnel, not a greenhouse because there's no heat. When I first built it, well, first of all, it came as a kit. 3,000 pounds of pipe. And the truck that brought it couldn't fit in the driveway. So we unloaded it on the road. Had to pull everything off the tractor with the truck with my tractor. And as it hit the ground, everything exploded. Everything that was wrapped was unwrapped. So here I am with 3,000 pounds of pipe. The driver gives me the sheet to sign, and he left. That's how we started out. Over a couple months, I got it up. It's a wonderful moneymaker. It extends our season. The plants move from that little greenhouse, which is heated, to this unheated greenhouse in February. In the fall, actually, the plants that we plant in here in the fall will leave through the winter. They're not tomatoes at that time of year. They're cold crops, cold weather crops. And what happens during the winter is they stop growing, but they don't die. The roots stay alive. When it starts to warm up in the spring, everything comes back. So this is actually our first pick in March. Will be plants that we plant in here in August, September, which wintered through here. It's amazing, just the 2 layers of plastic. You'll come out here in January on a bitterly cold day and you have to take your coat off. It's so warm inside. Of course, during the winter, the doors are shut, the sides are down. This time of year, everything's open. Oh gosh, well we're gonna have early tomatoes right here. We have broccoli, which has to be removed pretty soon. And we have a lot of kale back here. Everything's in succession. As we pull a plant or a pickle plant, Dana has new plants started already. Again, you're welcome to come see it. You're looking at some of our free-range chickens, which give us eggs every day. The big black guy's a rooster. The rooster's always usually accompanied by a few hens, his harem, which he protects, or he tries to protect. You see they're eating the grass. You would not believe how much greens, if allowed to, these chickens will eat. I also breed canaries. If you're familiar with the size of a leaf of kale, it's quite big. You could give a tiny little canary, which weighs maybe an ounce, a leaf of kale. They'll eat that whole leaf in a day. If you allow your animals to have their access to their natural diet, it makes them healthy. Pig breeders that keep their animals inside on cement, if those pigs get sick, one of the cures is to go out and get a shovel of earth and feed it to the pig. That's a cure for a pig raised inside. Eating dirt, because the dirt has, people always say, oh, dirt, you have to be the germs. There's a lot of good things in the dirt. We all played with dirt, we all ate dirt. I have no allergies. I know most young people do. Well, I guess this is one of our, if I remember right, sometimes I don't, but I think this is one of our first gardens. It wasn't this big. Every year it seemed to get a little bigger. As you can see, Dana does a wonderful job. It's hard to keep up with her. All kinds of lettuce right now. We have rhubarb on the other side. We got some sunflowers, and this, you come back here in a month and it'll look different. There'll be different things in the ground. And of course, all the gardens get a rest at the end of the year, and they get refertilized with compost, and we start all over again. Now, these white birds you're looking at are meat chickens. They are actually going to the butcher next week. But again, they're outside. They're eating grass. They're drinking water from a pond. They're out in the sun. These chickens will have more dark meat than white meat because they're not laying around getting fat. The fence you're looking at is electrified. Keeps the chickens safe at night. When we first bought the farm, Dana started planting vegetables just for ourselves, and we bought chickens, just a few for ourselves. And then as we met people, they wanted to buy some of our produce and they wanted to buy some of our eggs. So things just led to another, and now we have over 300 laying hens. In the spring, I think these guys came here in March, probably weighed about 50 pounds. And they'll go to the butcher probably late October, and I hope they weigh around 400 pounds. That's how fast they grow. Again, they get goat milk. They get produce from the garden. Anything that's overgrown or lettuce that went to seed goes to the pigs. In the winter, if I have eggs left over for the week, they go in the freezer. And then now, this time of year, I'll pull those eggs out, again, you feed it to your pigs. They're on a concrete pad. This is where actually we load them. We open the gate, the truck comes in, and it's relatively not too bad. At the end of the platform, the gate's open, as you can see, and that goes out into a large field, maybe an acre. Again, they have a choice. They can come in, they can go out. Today they're laying on the concrete. It's a little cooler. They got the water, they're in the shade. It's where they want to be. That's a waterer right there. As you can see, he just pushed on the paddle to get a drink. Those pigs know that's their water from day one, even as babies. They know if they push that paddle, they will get a drink. When it's hot, they'll continuously push on that paddle to make it overflow. And as you see now, they have a little pond where they can cool off. This is our herd of dairy goats. We have about 22 goats right now. We milk these goats twice a day, just like a cow, starting in March, usually going through October. Oh, it's wonderful milk. You really can't believe the smell when you're pouring the freshly milked milk out of the bucket. It just has a wonderful aroma. And then I can take that milk in the house and I can make cheese. I can have a soft cheese by lunch. This is Ono. Ono is the daughter of my original goat that I bought from Dana. So she's, I wouldn't say special, but she means a lot to me. She's an old doe. We don't breed her anymore. A few years ago, her mother got bred, and she was an old doe by accident. And I came out here in January, and I saw her mother in labor, and I thought I was going to lose my original goat, and I said, oh no. As it turned out, Mom was fine, and the baby's fine. She's not the biggest goat in the pen, but she's the leader. You don't have to be the biggest to be the leader. Just ask Ono. This is where we milk our goats twice a day. They come out 2 by 2 in order. They get up on the stand, and I have a milking machine. This is leftover milk from this morning. This is here for the cats. We have quite a few cats, which is fine, because they keep all the vermin away. On a farm, if you don't have cats, you have mice and rats. So I'd much rather have the cats. This is my 1967 Divco milk truck. She came out of Minnesota. I got her last year. And over the winter, I've been working on the inside. I put new floors in her. I painted the interior. Now I'm starting to work on the outside. Eventually, I hope this will be my market truck. I can take this to the market. It's when there was common sense in America. There's one person in this truck, so there's one vent. This fender fits the other side of the truck. Same fender. It's real metal. 6-cylinder engine. They weren't going far. They weren't going fast. Top speed, I think, is 50 miles an hour. But here's our honeybees. At this time, we have 5 hives. 4 of the hives you'll see are square boxes, which is the standard most people use. It's the form where you can get the most honey from the bee. This other one you're looking at is triangular in shape. This mimics the tree trunk. This is the way the bees would rather live. Rather than using that square box with the preformed foundations, the bees go in here. It's called a top bar because on top there's a bar with a little bit of wax, and they actually make their own comb, and like a teardrop. That's the way they do it in nature. That's the way they do it in the tree trunk. You don't get as much honey, but I think the bees are probably more comfortable in that hive. This year we had a very early spring, or we didn't have a winter, whatever. Things were in bloom way early, and the bees were really, really busy real early. Yeah. And we had many swarms, and then we had all the rain. So the rain has changed things quite a bit. So we're not sure what kind of harvest we're going to get. The harvest will be sometime in July. Now we're in our upper field. It's a special place. This is where we used to come before we bought the farm. And we would look out at the views, look at the mountain and the trees, and we decided we could do something with this place, even though it was a mess down below. And this is really why we bought this farm. Over the years, we've been making all the gardens bigger. This one's quite big. I think there's 18 rows, and each row is 4 feet wide and 150 feet long. All kinds of things up here. Jerusalem artichokes, grapes, fruit trees, potatoes, all kinds of currants, gooseberries, tomatoes. And the soil is very good, surprisingly, with all the rock. But then we've been working on it for 20 years. Now, if you look over here, this white flower is called buckwheat. And that's there for the bees. Bees love buckwheat. You plant buckwheat once, I guarantee if it's warm, it'll come up. And I guarantee you'll never lose it. It'll come up every year. It's a wonderful plant. Beneficial insects love it. Which brings me to a subject here about insects. People spray poison on their food to kill bugs. If you do things right, the good bugs will take care of the bad bugs. You're not going to alleviate all the damage to a plant through the use of the beneficial insects, but it'll be slight.
Can you walk up to the tree? There's some fruit. You could talk about the fruit coming out in the time of year.
Oh, yeah. Well, these trees up here, we got a little paper wasp over here. These apple trees are heirloom apple trees we planted. We have some peach trees here and some peach trees up here. These, intentionally we planted these to make cider. So hopefully in the future, these apples mixed with apples that we grow on the bottom part of the farm, we'll be making some homemade cider. It's a wonderful thing. Here you see some raspberries. They're giving fruit already. It's hard not to go by and pick it. I was cutting the grass up here last night, and of course I had to stop and check the fruit. It's the same thing the birds do every day. These raspberries, I believe they're only 2 years old, if not 3. Tremendous plants. Jerusalem artichoke, it's one of our native plants. There's a tuber in the ground you harvest in the fall. It's kind of bland. It's similar to potatoes.
And what kind of potatoes do we have?
Oh, quite a variety. We have blue potatoes, we have golds, reds, Kennebecks, You can see they're in flower already. It's amazing. We'll have potatoes soon. Early potatoes. Sunflowers are a wonderful plant. They tend to follow the sun. They turn just like a dandelion. If you notice on a cloudy day, the dandelion isn't open. On a sunny day, they're open. And they tend to follow the sun during the course of the day. All different kinds of sunflowers. Miniatures now, and mainly for decorations. Some are used for oil, some are used as birdseed. And then there's others that we eat.